Hello everyone, my name is Billie Jo Rhone, and today I'll be telling you about my trip to Egypt. My story really begins when I was just a little girl. I watched the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. It terrified my best friend, but after I watched it, I just wanted to read and watch anything with Egypt. A few years later, a family friend actually brought me back these pyramids from Egypt. So I kept them on my shelves and was just determined to get there. And that came true, my dream came true in 2019. So we flew into the capital of Egypt, which is Cairo. It is the 6th biggest city in the world by population. After 20 hours of travel time, we were ready to get out of that airport. But as soon as we stepped out, we were just swarmed by people. I had expected this, but expecting it and experiencing it are two different things. But luckily our guide spotted us right away and ran us through the crowd pretty much to the car. And as we got going, that Cairo traffic is a story in itself. They have traffic laws, but no one really follows them. So it's kind of this free-for-all of everybody just going for it and the non-stop honking all day, every day. My husband and I actually spent most of the time just jumping. Because there would be times you're just inches from the other car. There'd be donkeys in the road, people in the road, people on bikes balancing bread up there, just whatever. And our guide actually told us, if you need to cross the road, use an Egyptian as a shield. You never ever turn back. He said as soon as you get by, that car goes, and he was right. Our first stop, of course, was the Great Pyramids of Giza. The largest of these is the last remaining of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Stands at 481 feet tall. There's actually pictures of us here going up to the entrance. You're able to go inside. When you first go in, it's kind of like a cave, just kind of rocky and rounded. But it soon switches to a section that's only 3 feet high and at an extreme incline. So you see my husband here at 6'1", had a lot of fun with that. He spent it going, oh, this is gonna kill my knees. And I spent it going, we're in the Great Pyramid, suck it up. But I did feel bad for him, but not too bad because it soon opens to a 28-foot section that is completely straight walled, still at an incline. You'll reach the King's Chamber, which is where the Pharaoh Khufu would have been laid to rest, but he and his artifacts are long gone, more than likely tomb raided long ago. There's no hieroglyphics inside or anything like that. You'll just find his red granite coffin. Back outside, we were able to ride camels. You see a picture here of Taylor. To get on a camel, they're actually on the ground, and when you get on them, then they'll raise their rear end up, and all the Egyptians are yelling at you, lean back! And then it'll raise its front. So they're very tall and very wobbly creatures, but still very fun. We headed back into town to have dinner that night of stuffed pigeon and pigeon broth to drink, which sounds very strange, but believe it or not, the broth is actually so delicious, we wish we had it here. We also enjoyed Turkish coffee, which they brew in this tiny little pot for you, grounds and all.
That's strong.
Yeah, yes, very strong. They pour it in your cup, grounds and all, and told us, drink to a certain amount, don't drink the whole cup. And Egyptians love sugar in all their drinks, so Taylor scared them by saying he didn't want any sugar. The waiter actually went and got other people from the restaurant and was telling them that this man didn't want sugar. So he had fun with that the whole time. After eating, we visited the Ken El Khalili market. This market has been going since the late 1300s. It still ran much the same. You'll find everything there from clothes, food, or to your items such as these, like a jewelry box with mother of pearl and other stuff. Such as Queen Cleopatra, your cobras, just all sorts of things, like these pictures that are made on banana leaves. They're painted on there. part of Cairo that took us away from the Pharaonic era. It's actually called Coptic Cairo. The word Coptic is Greek for Egyptian, but over time this became a title for the Christians of Egypt. In order to get there is an adventure. You have to pass through the City of the Dead. This is an area full of mausoleums and tombs, some dating back to the 7th century. But what makes this unique is that in 1992, a 5.8 magnitude earthquake hit Cairo, leaving 50,000 people homeless. The government had trouble getting everyone in housing, so they actually moved into their family mausoleums. And many still reside there today with no running water, no electricity, very rough living. You will come out into Garbage City next. This is where most Christians in Egypt actually live. A brief history on Christianity in Egypt. Christianity was brought in 42 AD by Mark the Evangelist. At this time, Cleopatra had died and Rome had taken over Egypt. So people were very open to hearing about new gods and began accepting Jesus Christ pretty rapidly. Christianity actually became one of the main religions in Egypt. This would remain that way until 641 AD, when the Arab invasion brought Islam. A tax was then imposed for those who would not convert, making life for the Christians very hard. So many of them actually moved to the countryside and began farming or things like that, trying to escape persecution. Skipping way ahead to 1940s, the Christians actually started migrating back to Cairo in search of work. They brought with them their chickens, cows, and their pigs. Now when they got there, they realized there was no food for their pigs because the people that practice Islam do not eat pork. So it just so happened that all of the trash collectors had nowhere to go with their food waste. The Christians made a deal with them and started gathering all the food waste on their own to feed the pigs. And over time, they actually started collecting all the trash themselves. That's why it became Garbage City. Most of your Christians are trash collectors. They collect it all by hand. They sort it all by hand. So going through Garbage City, there's piles of trash, piles of jeans, or piles of just plastic, whatever. They have it all sorted. And it's very dirty, smelly. And many of the Christians here also have no electricity, sometimes no running water. It is rough living. It is estimated that only 10% of Egypt remains Christian today. When you get through Trash City, you will come out to the most beautiful church in Egypt, known as the Cave Church. Here's the front, and this is a picture looking out of the cave. It is hand dug in the side of the mountains. It is actually the largest church in the Middle East and North Africa, with a seating capacity of 20,000. I didn't realize it at the time, but thinking back about Coptic Cairo, it was very quiet there. There was people selling stuff, but no one really gave me the hassle and stuff that I was getting in the rest of the city. Actually, everyone just wanted their picture with us or wanted to kind of try to talk to us, that kind of thing. We actually have a picture of me with the whole family. Especially the kids really kept pointing at my hair and thinking that was interesting. Our guide later told us that's because a lot of these people we were noticing were being bussed in or something like that. He said they probably don't live in Cairo. They're probably in villages and have never actually seen an American, so except for on TV. So that was interesting to them. Excuse me while I get a drink real fast. The next leg of our journey, we flew to Luxor, which is actually what would have been ancient Thebes back in the day, the old capital. Here you will find the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens. In the Valley of the Kings, we were able to visit tombs such as Seti I, Ramses II, and of course King Tut. King Tut's tomb is very small compared to the others because he died so young, approximately 18 to 20, that they didn't have time to dig his tomb. and they think he's put in someone else's. But he actually was not that important of a pharaoh. We only know him because of the treasures found in his tomb. And that is because it was so small, it was hidden by someone else's under the sand. But my favorite tomb resided in the Valley of the Queens. It was the tomb of Queen Nefertari. She was the favorite wife of Ramses II. Her tomb has been referred to as the Sistine Chapel of ancient Egypt. There's pictures here, and there will be more on the table over there, with famous scenes such as the goddess Isis with her wings spread, Nefertari here receiving the key of life, and it shows tattoos on her arms. They're not sure if she actually had those or if it was just put on there. Also in Luxor, we traveled 3 hours into the desert to visit 2 temples, one being Abydos Temple. This one would have been a religious primary spot in ancient times. This temple was built by Seti I. Interestingly, there's some hieroglyphics there that some people think look like flying saucer, a helicopter, a submarine, and a jet airplane. This picture here, and once you get up here, you will be like, wow, that does. Archaeologists believe this is because over time, pharaohs would have kept putting more hieroglyphics one over the other. And then it just wore away over time, and that's what we have now. But who knows? Some other people think someone was psychic. So also here you'll find what's called the King's List. This shows 76 of all the pharaohs' names. But interestingly, King Tut was left out. They think Seti